Hello and welcome to Mind Over Matter. I'm your host, Thinketh, and on today's episode, we'll discuss the topic purpose. You heard the word everywhere, or you hear the word everywhere. Find your purpose, walk in purpose, live on purpose. But let me slow that down for a second. What do we actually mean when we say purpose? When you strip away the quotes, the podcast, massive side eye. The social media captions, what's left of it? Is purpose something real and grounding, or is it something we use to make ourselves feel better about the decisions we have already made? Now, by definition, purpose is a person's sense of resolve or determination. Now, I know the question ringing in your mind is, why should I have a sense of resolve or determination? Why? Why shouldn't I just live and exist? And an interesting question to you would be, because in living, you are actively choosing life. Why shouldn't you just choose death? I'm not advocating for someone to kill themselves, but I would love for you to follow the chain of thought that even those who merely exist or want to live are actively picking the choice of life as they are engaging in looking for food, the basic essentials of life. So it might be reasonable to look into purpose because it's also a choice that we make to live a life of purpose or to merely exist. They're all choices we actively make each and every day. Now, I know the question that is coming to mind is, why purpose? Why do we want to live a life of targets placed before us, that we constantly walk towards these targets? Isn't that a burden that we are constantly giving ourselves to a goal that we might never actually accomplish? Why have this purpose within us? What if I don't want that purpose? What if I want to merely exist, live my life as I want, momentarily? Each and every passing second I enjoy it. Why should I always think about the future, about what I need to accomplish? Is it to fulfill the desires of others? Is it something that I'll be satisfied with? Or am I just doing this, to feel better about the decisions I've made? I'm saying I'm working in my purpose, and in that difficulty of how we are able to define or how we view purpose makes it, challenging for us to be able to accept it. Are we doing it, to please others as a way to show that we are good people in some kind of way? Or are we doing it out of, that it's something embedded within us? It's not us forcing ourselves, it's not us doing it for likes or for attention, but it's because it's what makes us, and that's why we drive ourselves towards this goal, because it's not exhausting, rather it's encouraging. It's giving us that life to wake up each and every day. And I pose that question to you: what do you view purpose? Is it a stumbling block to you, or is it something that gives you life, to see the next day, to be able to move towards, tomorrow, energetic, happy, and living a life of fulfillment? Or are we just chasing a title that we want to live in purpose? What's the main essence of purpose? And now we want to look at why purpose feels so good. And this is because there's something comforting about believing your life has a clear direction. Currently we see how People are in a rush to figure out life, especially in this era of social media. You see, there's a rush, to get everything right now, you know, and maybe some of us are conforming to this by hiding under the shadow of purpose. That we want to have our life figured out, that this is what I'm going to do, this is how my life will end up, blah, 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 blah. And, we don't want to live in confusion, not knowing where we'll end up tomorrow. We don't want to live in a state of, we're wondering about, we are not really sure where we want to go. We are not figuring out the steps that we need to take. And I believe that's the beauty of purpose, because it's comforting that we know we are going this direction with so much certainty that we are capable to see that we are in control of our lives, because we don't want to see that our lives are controlling us. It's scary for us to not be in control when we are used to having control in all that we do. Control your life and how you spend your finances. You control what you want to eat. You control yourself and what you want to watch. And when you feel like you're losing control in life, it's scary, and we don't want that. And also that everything we do is for a reason. Purpose gives us that feeling that each and everything we do is for a reason. We're not just doing it for the sake of doing it, or we made a mistake. And it's comforting in that, we are making calculated steps in what we do. We're not guessing. We're not figuring things out. We are working with, as I said again, certainty that what I'm doing, is in line with my purpose. We don't want to waste time, a few years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years doing nothing, and later on we regret and say, why did I even commit to this job? Why did I even commit to this lifestyle? We don't want to regret in our lives. We want to do something that is meaningful and impactful to others, or to even our lives. We are chasing we are chasing those highs of life, when you feel proud about yourself. I did that. you know I did that for someone. I was there to help them out. I was there to further their career. I was there to shepherd them in the right direction. We're chasing those highs, and purpose helps us to walk in that trajectory. And I wonder, do we chase purpose because it's true, or because it helps us cope? Are we chasing it because it's truly what we feel within us, and it's aligning with our character? In that, for example, if, let's say, a person's purpose is to be able to help others in a sector, for example, in IT, in terms of coding, that his purpose is to be able to educate children to get to a level of proficiency where they're able to, be the top coders. Are we doing it because it's true, it's what we have within our hearts, or are we doing it because it's a way of coping, that we truly don't know what we have to do in life? We are lost, we are at the sea, and we are not seeing any sign of land. So is it a way for us to cope and for us to restructure our lives, or is it truly true that we are working in line with our purpose? How is it for you? For those who are working in purpose, is it true for you, or is it merely a way to cope as you find yourself in confusion and in distress? Because when life gets hard, confusing, or painful, seeing this as a purpose gives meaning to the mess. It gives meaning to the mess. And the question I pose to you is, do you believe that life has to have meaning in each and every season we go through? Or do we have to accept that life is simply life, and we live inside that moment? That even in our pain, in our confusion, in our distress, we don't have to say that, this has purpose. I'm doing this because, it's helping me in my future. We just have to accept that it's life. And that's the way life is. It has highs and lows. That we don't have to look deeply into them. We don't have to internalize and say that, it helped me do this and this. Or Is there meaning in each and everything we go through? Is there meaning in pain? Is there meaning in hardship? Is there meaning in confusion, in doubt, in worry, in anxiety? Or do we just accept that those are the stages of life? And as we go back to the topic, maybe that's not wrong to have purpose within our lives. That when we go through those moments, we consider them our building blocks, we consider them the foundations of our lives. That through those hardships, through those confusing moments, those painful experiences, they are shaping us towards our purpose. It's worth thinking about it. Is it purpose or is it just simply life? Life, lifing us. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. And now we want to follow that chain of thought as we see the lives of those who have found their purpose. How did they stumble in finding their purpose? Or was it clear from the way that they were born that they knew that this was my purpose? Or did they stumble their way to it? Now, when we listen to people talk about purpose, it always sounds so clear in hindsight. They'll say, I knew, I always knew, or everything led me here. But I believe that in real life, it's rarely that clear. Most people don't wake up one day knowing what they're meant to do. And I believe that they stumble, that they try things out, they fail and they adopt. And in those moments, now you feel like you're aligning with your purpose because it's in the moment when you stumble, when you find that this doesn't work for me. I'm struggling in this area. It's not fulfilling as I do this. But the more you stumble, the more you're finding your way, the more you shape, you're trying different aspects. That's when I believe that now you stumble your way through and decide, wow, okay, now this is where I'm comfortable at. This is where I'm able to give it all, without any resentment or without any fear that I'm overdoing. But I'm doing it out of the love that I have within my heart. And so if you're listening to this and think, I don't have it figured out. I don't have it figured out. Maybe that's not a flaw. Maybe that's just normal. That we don't have to figure out things instantly. We sometimes we need to take life gradually. And I believe as we have found ourselves in this era of, convenience and instant results, sometimes we are wired to think that our lives needs to be instant in how we figure things out, because you get emails instantly, you get phone calls, it's so instant, how we receive from this world, messages, food, fast food, everything is fast, everything is quick. And maybe we think our life should be that way, should be the same. But at times we need to understand that life is also gradual. It's a process. And before we find things out, we need to try, we need to fail, we need to adopt, we need to put ourselves out there for us even to find what we truly are in line with. Because as I was listening to the podcast of what's his name? I'm sorry if I butcher his name. I believe it's Huberman or Huberman. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. But he was also talking about purpose. And to them they say that purpose is something that is tied within our emotions. It's something that we truly enjoy. We are not doing it with hatred, or we're not doing it with the desire to please others, but it's something that flows naturally within us. And let me give you a clear example in what I mean. For example, it's not uncommon to find what I've seen in my life, it's not uncommon to find within our area someone who's very passionate about a particular sport. Let's say, for example, basketball. He's so passionate about it that it has become his goal to be able to train small children, and you see him spending time. He's not paid, he's not asking the parents for money. He's just doing it because it's within him. He finds joy, to be able to see these kids grow up and to find them in the NBA or to find them in Europe playing basketball because it's something that is ingrained with him. It's his purpose to be able to sharpen the kids in this aspect of basketball for them to be able to blossom and to become great stars. And I might say to you, it's something similar. Not that it'll be in sports, but it's something that you don't need monetary value upfront because I'm sure gradually the parents will be grateful for what he's doing. And over time, they'll ask him, how can we repay you? How can we pay you back? And out of their own volition, will they pay him back? But he did ask for it because he had passion in that specific field. He was able to receive monetary gain from it. So we are able to understand from this example that purpose is something that we are driven to do without monetary gain. It's something that is ingrained with us, inside us, that we are just pushed to do it, whether we are paid, whether we don't receive any gain. We just do it because it's burning within us. It's a calling that we can't ignore. But on the flip side, there are some people who have not had this feeling. Maybe that feeling died down. And in that same video, Huberman was saying, you know, it's because of the voices that we hear constantly in our life. Because they were saying, as we were children, he was speaking with Robert Greene, and they were saying, when we are children, this voice is so clear within us that we like this and we don't like this. Some people are wired to intellectual wisdom, so they like maths, things to do with intellectual stuff, maths, and on and on. Others are into sports. I'm sorry, I don't know what the name they said, but there's intellectual wisdom, there's wisdom in the sports aspect. I hope you get what I'm saying. What was it called? Kinetic wisdom. I'm sorry if I'm saying the wrong words. But that was another aspect. And the third one was also communication. There's intelligence in that. That some people are very good in the way they relate with others. They have charisma, they know they are around people and they're able to benefit from that, And they spoke about 5 types of wisdom. The rest I forgot. I'm really sorry. 5 types of wisdom. So we were saying that some people have lost their way because of that internal voice, has died down because of the voices we hear. Your teacher tells you that you're not good at maths, you're weak in this area, you cannot succeed, you're a failure. So your internal voice becomes lower and lower. It diminishes because of the external voices that we hear. And today, I believe it's far much worse because of how many voices there are out here. You open social media, someone's telling you do this, don't do that. There's so many voices that can clog our internal voice, and it becomes so small that we can't even hear what we are drawn into, what we love and what we hate, because the voices are too many. This person is telling you do this, no, enter into this business. As you scroll to the next video, you're told, no, this business does not work, this business model is wrong, come join up my course, I'll teach you what to do. The next video you scroll, you're told this course is wrong. There's so much fog, there's so much noise that we are unable to really understand where we stand. You see how I'm rhyming there? Understand and stand. You get me? Yes, we are unsure where we stand, in our purpose, and that's a problem some people face. They are at a point in life where they're wondering, I've gone to uni, I have done this course, but it's not just working with me. Should I not start over in life? What should I do? They have got to their end because what they are doing, there's no love to it. And Robert Greene gave a good example. He said that he studied French in university, I believe, And when he went to Paris, as he thought his skills learned from college will help him, he was shocked that he couldn't speak a word. And at the time, he had a girlfriend, and he was worried, how will I speak to her? And I have zero understanding of this language. And because of that love, he was able to learn French within a month. So we see purpose can help us to have that drive to read, to overcome the struggle or the turmoil that we might face in our lives because we love what we do, you know. Purpose is able to help us overcome those challenges. And that's what I bring to you. And I know now you might be asking, why does this even matter to me? You know, I don't want to live in purpose. I don't think purpose is for me. Let me challenge your thought for a bit. Let me give you a reason maybe you should think about it. Why you should choose purpose or not. You know, you're wondering, what if I don't want some big life mission just to boast about with others, you know, as some people do. You know, they sit around with you and they tell you, you know, my purpose is to, you know, help children in Africa do I don't know what in I don't know what in what, you know. And you're looking at them like, this guy, man, what's he saying? You know, he's speaking some things. You're just wondering, you know, I don't even understand his purpose, you know, and it's okay. And I know you might be asking, what if I just want to live, you know, enjoy my days, take care of the people I love, and, you know, mind your business. And to that, I know you're asking, is purpose still relevant? If I just want to enjoy my life, you know, take care of my family, take care of my loved ones. I don't want some big life mission, something grandiose just to, you know, to add to what I'm doing. You know, I just want to, yeah, enjoy life, you know, take it slow, day by day, moment by moment. Be present in all that I'm doing. Or is it something that we have turned into a requirement when it was never meant to be, you know, purpose? Have we turned it into something that we must have on our shoulders, you know, without even considering that it is a choice that some of us might live without it, you know? Which is a very good question to ask. Is this something for me, or am I just doing it for the sake of others? Or am I just doing it, you know, as a show off? You know, I have purpose. I want to build 20 wells in Africa. You know, do this, do that. You know, is it something that is ingrained within you, or is it just something that we can opt out of? It's a fascinating question, and I leave it to you. Is purpose a requirement, or is it an option? Is it possible that we can live without it and completely be fulfilled with our lives, or without it, there's no fulfillment in life? Ruminate on that as we move on slowly and gradually to what purpose actually does to our life. What does purpose do to someone? And here is where it gets interesting. Say with me, interesting. Yes, purpose doesn't just give people motivation, it gives them endurance. Endurance to be able to run this race of life, because life in itself is unfair. Life is very unfair in that you might view your life and wonder why were some people born with silver spoons and you barely nothing on your plate. You know that you had to work hard, that you had to give it your all to get even the bare minimum, while others didn't even struggle. You know, it was brought to them on their plates without any work. And I know you might be wondering, is purpose the only thing that might give me endurance in life? You know, is it only purpose, or How about if I have a strong mentality or if I have a strong willpower? Will I be able to go through life without purpose? And that's a very good question. You know, is purpose the only thing that gives us endurance? What about willpower? What about mentality? You know, and I might say maybe purpose builds that willpower. You know, purpose builds that mentality, that it gives you that drive to endure because it shapes you to know that this pain is not lasting. This pain is momentary. It's fleeting. Sorry. The pain is fleeting. But the pain won't last forever. Maybe purpose builds those willpowers. Purpose builds those mindsets. Or maybe some of you can build those mindsets without purpose. Can you? I would love to hear if it's possible. Then we would see that some believe that their life has a meaning. Then we can say that when someone believes that their life has a meaning, that they suffer differently. You know, when you truly believe that your life has a meaning, you're not you're not afraid of suffering. I'm not saying that they enjoy suffering, but you view it in a different light. You know that this won't last, you know. To where I'm going, this is not going to hold me back because you know your drive supersedes the current suffering that you're going through. And to you it's you're just waiting. When will it end? You know, you're not sulking. Of course it's going to be difficult for you, you know. Of course it's going to be hard for you. But even though you find yourself in that difficulty or in that suffering, you know, there's hope. There is hope because you know where you're going. You know where your destiny is. It's for example, you know, what story can I use? It's for example, you know that you're getting to gold at the end of your journey. So even though you get yourself all muddied up, even though you get heat waves, even though the environment is difficult for you, you know where you're going, you know what you're going to get at the end of this journey. So maybe purpose is like that, you know. You see the end goal, you envision it each and every day. So even though you suffer, you endure it because you know what's the end of this tunnel, you know what's the end of the mission that you have. So it pushes you, it drives you, you know, it gives you that stamina to endure and to stand because you are seeing you are seeing where you're going. And with that, the challenges on the road are nothing because you see the end goal. So you suffer differently. And when I mean you suffer differently, it also shows in the decisions that you make. You know, when people decide to spend their money maybe in a certain way, you're not willing to engage in that. Others want to go maybe clubbing, drinking. Nothing against drinkers though. Don't take me wrongly, please. It's just an example, but again to the story. Yeah, some people might want to delve differently with their money, but because you know you have a purpose, you have a goal where you want to go, it'll shape your decisions. It'll shape your yeses and nos. And in certain scenarios, you'll say no. To others, you say yes, even though it's not like it's not like you to accept such decisions because maybe it's outside your comfort zone. It's something that you're not accepted. But because you know where you're going, you accept it because you know this will mold me. This will help me become the person I want to be tomorrow. And it will help you say yes and no's to certain things. So maybe the real question isn't whether purpose exists, but what believing in it does to the way we live. It gives people a certain mindset. But for me to get to my end goal, for me to get to that goal, for example, that goal that I'm going to get at the end of the tunnel, I need to, I need to work on my fitness because I know the road will be muddy. I need to have that fitness to be able to endure, the heat waves, to endure the challenges that I find in this environment. So it helps someone to exercise their bodies in that context of getting to the goal. It helps someone understand that the journey will be mentally exhausting, so I need to have a strong mentality for me to get to my end goal. It helps someone to know that I need to focus on what I eat, because for me to survive that desert or that tunnel, I need to be able to be strong in certain environments. I hope you get what I'm saying. That it gives you a certain mindset, it gives you you know a certain way to live your life. You don't just live life for the living. You have a certain way that you live. You have a certain routine that you use. And to some, maybe they need that. They need something to help them in the way they live their lives. Or maybe you don't. The choice is up to you. It's for you to come to your own conclusion. Sorry. It's up to you to come to your own conclusion. I'm just giving you a different mindset, a different view on how to look at it. The choice is up to you. And to some, maybe they don't want the pressure of purpose, because purpose has pressure. That's on the flip side. What if the constant pressure to find your purpose is doing more harm than good? That to others, they're constantly looking, but they haven't found it. And it's exhausting. You're wondering, what am I here to do? My work, I'm not enjoying it. I switched jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 5 jobs. I learned a new course, I learned something else, but it's it's not doing it for me. I don't love it. I hate my boss, I hate my work, I hate what I'm doing. And you're wondering, I'm looking for my purpose, I haven't found it. And it makes you feel lost. It makes you feel lost. It's not that you lack direction, but because you're convinced that you're supposed to have some grand answer by now in your life. Figure out your purpose, have things in line, and it's stressing you out. When you're wondering, you've been actively seeking for this purpose, but to no avail. What do you do in such a scenario? That you have adapted, you have failed, you have gone through all those stages, but nothing, no purpose, just frustration and confusion. What is someone like that going to do? Do they still continue searching and toiling for this so-called purpose, or do they just give up and accept that purpose isn't for everyone, or at least not in the way it's usually presented? That it doesn't have to be a grand answer or something. When you tell others, they leave their mouth agape. They're like, that's your purpose? Oh my God, I've never thought of something like that. That's amazing. Maybe it's something simple. Maybe it's something that's fulfilling. Maybe even some people have done it. 10 million people have done it. 10 million people are still doing it. Maybe that's still your purpose. Maybe. Maybe. It doesn't have to be something so unique. Maybe it's just something that keeps you fulfilled in life. That tomorrow you want to wake up to it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Maybe that's purpose. It doesn't have to be something so grandiose, something so out of this world. Maybe it's just something simple. But as long as it gives you that drive to continue living, that drive to give yourself fully to what you're doing. Maybe that's purpose. Maybe, maybe that's purpose. And now, what does it mean? Living well, with or without it. Living well, with purpose or without it. So, where does that leave us? Whether you believe in a defined life purpose or not, you still have to decide how you live. The choice is up to you. You still have to decide what you give your time to, what you walk away from, and what kind of person you're becoming. Maybe purpose isn't a destination, maybe it's something revealed in the patterns of your life, the things you keep choosing, even when no one is watching. Maybe that's purpose. Your daily choices, what you say yes to, what you say no to, what gives you that drive to wake up each morning. Is it a strain to you to go to your job? Is it something that you distaste? Or is it something that gives you, you know, that gives you that satisfaction that, yes, I'm going to my job? It's something that you're looking up to each and every day. Or is it something that you hate? When you listen to, or when you hear that alarm, your day just got worse because you don't even want to wake up, you know? That you don't want to wake up. You're wondering, again? Going to work today again? It's a Monday? Oh my God. And then on weekends, you are ecstatic. I'm finally free. Monday, again? I'm going to work? Oh my God. You know? Or are you excited that on Sunday, on Saturday, your body's itching? When will I go to work? When will I impact the world again? You know? Is that how you feel? Is that how you feel, ladies and gentlemen? Is that how you feel? And I'll leave you with this. But maybe the question isn't, what is my purpose? Maybe the better question is, how am I living? And would I respect the life if I look back on it someday? The question is, how am I living? And would I respect that life if I look back on it someday? Sit with that, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye bye, ladies and gentlemen.